Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you. John Earls here, Director of Goodfoot, and we're looking at an interesting subject today: how positivity increases productivity. And I've got a friend, but also a special guest. But I think he's somebody well versed in positivity. Hi, Prash. Would you mind just introducing yourself?
It would be it would be a real pleasure. Thanks, John. Thanks for having me. And hi, everybody. So my name is Prash Kotecha. I have had the pleasure of navigating the corridors of a lot of corporates over the past nearly 35 years now. A lot of big financial and technology organizations in many different capacities. And one of the things that went in the opposite direction to my career aspirations and salary was my happiness levels. They sunk. And it took a long time for me to be able to unravel some success secrets or tips to be able to navigate those long, arduous hours and sacrifices that we all make in our careers in order to find a happy medium where I could thrive in my career and now my own business, but also to keep my sanity and happiness levels up.
And you're used to working in the corporate sector, aren't you? In terms of focusing on raising positivity, you help companies to become more productive in what they do.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, that's what gave birth to the brand that I, go by now, Stress to Success. And the Stress to Success brand was because, there were a lot of stressed out, burnt out people who had forgotten vitamin H, happiness, vitamin P, positivity, and also in doing so, they forgot that these things have a lot of special attributes that can help in their businesses, in their teams, and learning to bridge that gap so people can harness that for their own good. And that's a lesson that, whether it's a big tech or a big corporate like I've worked for, or, many of the people that you work with and still work with, I think it's a valuable set of insights that people can benefit from.
Yeah, I'm involved in workplace psychology research to some extent, and I think positive psychology now is being widely accepted. That
Mm.
it's got a clear business outcome. You can measure the success and the productivity based on people's levels of happiness rising, like you mentioned. But in my that's something in my opinion as a researcher, but somebody who's practical in the field, training in raising positivity. How do you think that positivity then actually affects productivity? What does it does?
It's a really good question. Let's talk about it from several angles. One from brain chemistry. Let's start there. Positivity, it's a well known fact. When we're in a positive state, perhaps in different ways, you've exercised or you've done something that gets into a happy state, positivity has a beneficial effect on the triggering and releasing of certain conducive neurotransmitters and hormones within the body. Serotonin, dopamine, these two, BDNF, brain derived neurotropic factor. These various hormones and chemicals are conducive to all the sorts of things that we want in our work, in our career: efficiency, creativity, ideation, problem solving, the ability to have more confidence, articulation, stronger cognitive function. All of these benefits are coming about due to being in a more positive state, which is in itself triggered by various activities, which of course many we know. Exercise is just one of them: yoga, meditation, the list goes on. But that connection is undeniable now. And that's the point here, that we can use positivity to trigger positive KPIs in the business, in the workplace.
Mm. Yeah, very interesting. My mind was thinking to many different arenas and ways of implementing this. Certainly with some of the clients that I'm presently working with. I suppose that comes to sorry, brings me to my next question. How would you actually bring this through in the workplace? So it's great that we know that positivity has these effects, but how are you actually going to bring it into an organisation so that they can use this?
Yeah, it's a really good question, John. And look, I mean, anybody who's in HR or L&D tuned into this will acutely know the benefit of investing into employees, especially senior leadership, managers, management, and so forth, in empowering them with skills like this. And I think that is the avenue that we would want to see. We would the way for us to do this, the way for organizations to do it, is for HR, L&D leads, talent managers, to bring in people who are specialists in this area. Emotional intelligence is a key aspect here. So perhaps an emotional intelligence based training. The training that's delivered is typically wrapped up with practical exercises, so you can actually integrate some of these skills into the workplace. So I think one is having trainers come in, teach, train, and actually help people to synthesize it into the workplace. And there are techniques whereby you can take emotional intelligence techniques, positive psychology techniques, learn them in a classroom setting, but then actually see how they can be applied. And that could be by having a consultant, hiring a consultant, having them work with you on a retainer basis, and having the consultant sit in on certain meetings and then work with those leaders individually to help them to see where things can be made improvement. Those improvements can then translate into practical things. These could be into meetings, it could be one-on-ones that are done in a more casual way. So these behavioral changes would be the vehicle through which a consultant or an expert or a coach in the areas of positive psychology, emotional intelligence, etc., any of us could work along with the HR or L&D or management in order to bring about those changes.
Yeah, and that leads me to think of a model as a leadership model that says that there's 4 areas of a learning when you start to develop a new team. So when a person's first in a new team, they've got a lot of confidence and a lot of enthusiasm, but there'll be points along that journey, you know, when they need to upskill, and that confidence will or could drop. And they pinpoint coaching at certain key areas of someone's development is really fundamental to raising positivity needed for confidence. So, I mean, that's a really interesting point you made. And I've just got one last question. Do you have any tools or techniques that somebody could take away with that they could potentially use for themselves or their organisation?
Sure. I mean, there are so many that we could look at, both inside and outside the organization, and they work hand in hand. Let's just look at a couple of them straight away. So one, on the very personal level, at an individual basis, employees can be encouraged to exercise, give them a chance to be able to do something physical. Movement results in a lot of these different factors that we just discussed. I also forgot to mention that, of course, one of the other beneficial effects of movement, physical exercise, is the reduction in cortisol. And cortisol, of course, is a stress-related hormone, and it is also one of the things that has resulted in a lot of poor health. A lot of burnout is associated with elevated cortisol levels. So exercise and movement is a great thing. So one thing that could be done is for employers to encourage actively, more actively encourage individuals to, wherever possible, take up some sort of movement activity. Obviously, we want to be diverse and inclusive at the same time, so there's a D&I aspect with which this should be packaged. But I think the opportunity to encourage people to take time for movement, even if it means, you know, it's like team sports inside the office, little movements, team walks and jogs. When I was working at some of the banks, they would go for runs when the weather was conducive. So there could be certain things within the parameters of your business that you're able to incorporate to bring together individuals as a group to exercise, or at least give them that sort of, okay, 1 hour a week, you guys just disappear, go do an exercise. They could go one step further. They could sponsor it. They could offer a little incentive and say, look, we're giving you £30 a month budget so you can go and just exercise or do something. That could be one way. Another really powerful tool is journaling. Now, we think of journaling as a self-help tool, and sometimes corporations don't really see the value, but there's a lot of value. And what we could look at, it's a little bold, is to see how organizations, especially those who are brave and passionate in the L&D and HR area, is to encourage journaling, to take 30 minutes of time for reflection once a week. And that needs to come from the top down. It needs the leaders to say, look, I've seen the benefit. I, as a leader, have seen the benefits of journaling. I want to encourage every single one of our family, our team, our organization to find time, 30 minutes a week, to journal. Let me show you what I do. Imagine a masterclass delivered by a leader with heart, with grace, with an open, non-agenda type of stance. How powerful that could be for individuals. It's coming from one of their own. It's not coming from some external trainer. It's coming from one of their own. And what better way to inculcate and imbue this within the culture when leaders stand up, express the benefits of exercise, journaling, meditation, mindfulness, and they speak to the troops. They do it through town halls, and then they check in on a once a week basis. That's power.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you, Prash. I mean, you took a lot of words out of my mouth there, and I think that's a great place for us
We
to.
think so much alike, John, in this area. You know, the need for heart and integrity and authenticity is what leadership should be about. And when they bring that, positivity comes about. I'll say one other thing, and John, I know you're an ex, you know, you're very passionate about this. Psychological safety. We
Mm,
need to have environments where people feel psychologically safer. They feel safer to be able to express themselves. They feel like they're not going to be judged. Just having and increasing our psychologically safety in our environments, in our teams, and that needs to come again from the management downwards. That allows people to feel more positive ultimately as well.
yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Psychological safety allows people to have a voice. People feel more confident when they feel trusted, and positivity will rise out.
Positivity will rise.
Prash, thank you so much, and thank you for everybody watching the video.
Thank you all. Wish you well.